So the issue of unsupported expenditure is a big one. I looked at 2023, 2024, and I was able to identify about 68 billion worth of money that cannot be accounted for. So I'll give you some of the examples here that are, that should shock all of us, right? You have our government gets a grant from, we get a lot of grants. So we love to call up, Western partners and say, we are a poor country, we need some help. We get a grant for fighting malaria. When we get that money, 450 million is withdrawn from a bank account, but there's no report of where the money went, right? So we just take the money. Nobody says what the money was spent on. Okay, so we have another donation, this time to fight HIV. We get the money, withdraw the money, but there's no report that's done to say what we did with that money. We have in 2022, 2023, our government decides that it wants to help young people gain skills. We have no spaces in our public institutions. So they decide that they're going to cut up checks and send them to private institutions to be able to support some of these kids. When you look at what happened with that money, we find out that we spent a lot of money on people that are dead, right? We sent a check for, let's look at the number here. We spent about close to a total of 200 million on people that are dead, or they have already withdrawn from schools, or they've graduated, but we're still sending checks. And so, when you look at this, what's clear is that we have a government that's not, they don't care about accountability. Last year, in 2023, 2024, we distributed about 60 billion worth of pension for people that were supposed to be former military people. When the auditor looks at those records, they find out that many of the names have dummy. Just imagine there's a line item on an Excel spreadsheet somewhere because none of these records are digitized. You see a name that has dummy in it, but yet we paid money, lots of them. We have other names that are missing any information that you can use to identify people. For example, a national ID number. But we've sent out 60 billion worth of pension. We also sent out about, I think, 90 billion worth of capitation for primary schools across the country. Instead of using a digitized system, we pull up an Excel file. We say that this school in Nyeri has 1,000 people, and that's how we allocate 90 billion worth of primary school capitation across the country. It's just so unbelievable because I cannot imagine, you're not going to be able to last a day in the private sector if you behave like this. When you send down 90 billion and you cannot tell someone, this is how we determine that this amount of money is actually valid for this particular school. But our government doesn't care about accountability, and the price to be paid is paid by the most vulnerable in our community.
It's the first area, and my heart really breaks. Jerry, like really, based on what Bonnie has said, just say something.
Yeah, definitely. We need a doji in Kenya, and as much as we like to believe that humans have the best interests and humans are trustworthy, we're not. We've proved that over and over again in generations from before Jesus was born, past Judas. I mean, the Great World Wars one and two, and humanity, if it doesn't have measures, it just kind of there are people who tend to get power and then mistreat people with less power, who are poor. The rich usually, if there are no measures. So a doji where you have to first account. Bonnie is already doing some form of doji because you and him going through each county revenue and you and him identifying all these gaps, all these issues happening. It's a form of reconciliation, and you can tell who is taking what and from where and what is missing. That is a form of doji. But how do we then next implement this into something that can actually put people in jail or kind of revert the money back from their accounts?
Two things that you bring out that I would like to add a voice on. Number one is Dodge. My pronunciation is different from yours. Never mind. We have ghost workers
Yes.
everywhere. In each county that we've looked at, we have ghost workers. Number two, we have ghost schools. Bonnie has looked at the records of funds being dispersed to different schools, and he's realized some schools never existed. Here we are speaking about pension funds. Pension. Yaani aki tumerogwa. Pension. Watu wamelipwa na hawako.
Yes.
Really, really. One, we ought to automate our systems so that all the records are online. If we can find a way to synchronize all our records, so that when someone Googles Nasambu, they see my birth certificate, they see everything associated with me. That automation ought to be there. I lived in Japan, it's called My Number. Anytime you provide your My Number, all the details about you inaonekana. There is no way you will be a ghost anything because they can see that. US, I think you have the social security number somehow. You still went on and installed. I don't know what was happening with you people. Synchronize our records. And then second thing, we ought to audit the people employed by the different government agencies, schools being paid pension. It is important for us to do that audit and then automate the system.